So before we start, get us uh, let us let us get introduced to the term system. So, if from a very fundamental point of view, if I ask you, what do you understand by the term system? Can you define this term system? Anybody?
So system is a meaningful connection of some device or some parameter like resistance, inductance,
Hmm.
capacitor.
Hmm.
A device like BJT,
Okay,
diode.
so in your opinion, a system should always be some device, some component, RLC component, BJT transistors. Other than that, no system can exist, or other things are not
Sir,
called as system.
it may be any program like software.
Okay, you're still confining yourself to technical things. I'm looking for a very general definition of a system.
So system is anything and everything that we want to study for a specific means if we want to study a certain things or components that everything inside it constitutes the system.
I will take just the words anything and everything. That's okay, that's keyword. But whenever say
If
yes,
you
Molo,
if
yes,
we
yes.
apply some input to a system, we can get an output. This is
Okay, that's a very crude perspective, right? That's fine. That is okay. That is okay. But no. Debraj, don't complicate the things. I'm just trying to go from a layman's point of view. As far as the last definition I got, the system can be defined as something, quote unquote, something which, when excited by an input, will produce an output. And in some situations, it doesn't even require an input. Due to some abnormality, it produces an output. Now, the next point that I want to clarify, the system doesn't always include physical elements. Okay, there are many more systems that doesn't include a physical element, like economical system. Okay, there's a parameter, money or the currency, that is a part of the economical system, but that is not at all a physical element. So, educational system, there is again a system. We measure the state of the educational system by these examinations and these things, but the system doesn't have any physical existence. There are components that you can see, but the system, if you call, that's also a system. Any management system, if you follow the hierarchy, in the management system there's a definite hierarchy. The hierarchy is there, but they are not physically present, right? So you should not confine the term system to physical quantities. So it can be anything and everything under the sun that can be termed as a system from a wide perspective. But still, as we're engineers, so we will be concentrating more on physical systems. Obviously, the knowledge that you will develop in studying these signals and systems will be equally applicable to systems which are not physical systems, like social systems, economical systems, management systems. On those aspects, financial systems, your knowledge can equally be applicable. I think we have seen some of your seniors after passing out from electrical engineering are doing their job very well in the financial sectors, right? So how they are coping up, because they understand the system. They do not know actual systems, physical systems or other systems. They can model the system, they can study the system, they can analyze the system. There's a core thing that they have developed. Okay, so do not confine yourself to physical systems. The knowledge is applicable to all the systems, but what you have to do, you have to put an perspective to it, right? Because other than physical systems, you have to put a perspective, otherwise you cannot study them. For that, what we develop normally is a mathematical model. The entire objective of this course is to develop tools for analyzing systems. What are these tools? The first and foremost tool will be developing mathematical model. Okay, so in this course, we will be studying how to develop a mathematical model for a system, how to identify a system, then you have to classify the system depending upon some properties, some features, then you have to analyze some properties of the system which are to be found out. So this is the main idea behind this course. So if we start from the basic definition of a system, is it visible or should I zoom in?
Visible.
I guess it's visible, right? So I'll try to zoom in a bit more because some of you might be following it from a mobile phone. So what is a system from an engineer's point of view? A system is a quantitative description of a physical process which transforms signals at its input to signals at its output, or to be very precise, it transforms the input signal to output signal. And the transformation, when described in a quantitative description, is called a system. This quantitative description is very important. Since we are engineers, we need a description that should not be philosophical, that should not be qualitative, that should be quantitative, right? You should know if you give a particular input, what should be the output. That description should be quantitative. Understood? Or more precisely, if you see from a mathematical abstraction point of view, because at the end of the day, we'll be developing mathematical models, the system can be thought of a black box. And what is the purpose of the black box? It deterministically transforms the input signals into output signals. Deterministically means the transformation can be determined mathematically, the input signal to output signal. So these are the definitions of physical systems. So if I want to define a physical system by the physical existence itself, then how we can define that? A system will be a set of interacting or interdependent components or component parts that will form a complex or intricate whole. So it will form a complete system comprising of interacting or interdependent component parts. And the purpose, there should be a purpose. Otherwise, the system has no reason for existence. So it should serve a particular purpose. So a system will have following properties. That is, what are these properties? It will be delineated by spatial and temporal boundaries. That is, there will be certain boundaries defining its spatial distribution and temporal distribution. And that boundary will define the system domain, right? So as soon as you define the system domain or boundary, there should be something beyond that boundary. And what is that called? That is called the environment of the system, right? So what is the environment of the system? This is something that will surround the system and that will influence the system. The system within its boundary will be surrounded by the environment and it will be influenced by the environment. I think you have heard the term environment, like disturbances, like noises. So that will be the effect the environment will have. Sometimes this environment will develop exogenous input signals to the system to get the response of the system, right? So it will be surrounded and influenced by environment. Then it will be described by its structure and purpose, that how it is developed and what is the purpose it is serving. So that is the description of a system, right? And it will be expressed in terms of functioning. That is how it is functioning or how it is serving the purpose. So these are the basic things that we should keep in mind, that it is delineated by the boundaries and is surrounded and influenced by the environment, and it is described by the physical structure and the purpose, and is expressed in terms of its functioning, right? So when we're talking about physical system, it will be a collection of physical objects, right? Like we have seen in laboratory, industrial plant. It may range from a very simple op-amp circuit to the Perseverance observer that has been sent to Mars. So that is most complicated, or much more complicated. So there is no boundary how simple a system can be or how complicated a system can be, right? If I ask you out of curiosity, in your opinion, what would be an example of the most complicated system, as per your opinion? I have my opinion. Yeah, please. Follow? Yes, Debraj is correct. Debraj is absolutely correct. Human body. Why so, Debraj? Can you put some light on your answer? I think Debraj is not being able to talk. Okay, so he has said that a human body will be the most complicated. Okay, fine. Most complicated system. Do all of you agree? Or can we find out any other system that will be much more complicated than human system or human body? Class? So since you are silent, I will accept the fact that you all agree with Debraj. Any response to the class? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all of you agree, right? That human body is the most complicated system that exists, right? Because we are here to study the human functioning completely, right? And I hope that study will never end, because if it ends, if you can completely understand how a human body works, starting from birth to death, then there will be a danger for mankind. Okay, you might say it will be very helpful for medical purpose. The healing process will be much more beneficial. But if human can have the total power over the entire cycle of a human life, or if it can fabricate the entire human life cycle, I don't think that will be very helpful for human society, humanity. Okay, that's my opinion. Now let's move on. So in general, whenever we're talking about system, okay, we are discussing about physical systems. Whenever talking about system, we should also keep in mind there are not some systems which are non-physical, like economical, social, management systems, etc. Right? So once we have defined the system, let us go for classification of system. The most fundamental classification that one can think of is continuous time system and discrete time system. In continuous time system, all the signals associated with the system, input output signals, are available continuous. That is, the signals are continuous time signals. Their values are available at all points of time. Like this is a time axis, and this is a signal S. I should not write signal as S. For continuous time signal, it will be something like this. However, for discrete time signal, this output will be available only at discrete instance of time. In between, there will be no signal. See, only at discrete intervals of time 1, 2, 3, 4, it will be available. And in between, there is no signal. So this is a discrete time signal. That is, it is present only at discrete instance of time. So whenever a system, the input and output are affected, and the response is a continuous time signal, we call it a continuous time signal. But if a system that accepts inputs only at discrete intervals of time and generates output at discrete intervals of time, there is a discrete time system. And obviously, there is another kind of system, there is a hybrid system, where both continuous time signal and discrete time signal exist. Right? So, it's a fundamental classification based on how the signals related to the system can be viewed. Next, we can have is a linear system and nonlinear system. It's a very fundamental classification, because in a linear system, it will follow or obey the rules of scaling, that is homogeneity, and superposition, that is additivity. I think that these properties are well known to you. On the other hand, a nonlinear system is any system that does not obey at least one of these. If it fails to obey at least one of these, then it will be a nonlinear system. If it fails to obey both of them, obviously there's a nonlinear system. So I guess the scaling property is very well known. How? Our system H, when excited by an input ft, will generate an output, say H of ft. Now, if you excite the system by an input k of ft and get an output that is k times H of ft, that is, if you multiply the input by k, the output gets multiplied by k, or a scaling of k, then we say the system follows the properties of homogeneity, is scaling. Similarly, it will follow the superposition property of linearity if a system when excited by f1 produces an output hf1, when excited by input f2, it produces an output f2, but when you excite it from f1 plus f2, the output that it generates is summation of hf1 plus hf2. So it follows the superposition property. So these two can be clubbed together. so that the output in response to a signal K1 F1t plus K2 F2t will be K1 multiplied by the response to F1t plus K2 multiplied by response to F2t. So this obviously includes both the scaling property and additivity property, right? So if a system follows this property, then we say it's a linear system. If it fails to follow either of one of them, at least, then it's a non-linear system. As simple as that, binary, just like a binary option. The next classification will be time invariant system and time varying system. This is very, very important classifications. Okay, and one thing we should keep in mind, though I am representing this classification in terms of, say, linear system, continuous time system, time invariant system, these are not disjointed. I'll discuss this. So what is time invariant system and time varying system? A time invariant system is one for which the output of the system doesn't depend on when the system is excited. That means if you shift the input signal by amount t, say you have shifted this is the output for yt, that is h of ft, that is termed as yt. If you give a signal f of t minus capital T, that is shifted the input signal, then output will get shifted by same amount and output nature will remain same. Then it's a time invariant system. But if it fails to hold on to the same nature of the output response when the input is time shifted, then we call it a time varying system. Now, how that can be explained? Come over here. Suppose we have a this is your time axis, and this is say yt output. I'll be drawing the input by say color blue. So at this point, you're excited, given as a input. So the output for that particular input this is your output. Now, if I change the occurrence of the input to say this point, same input, but I'm shifting the input point over here. So what will happen if the output nature remains same? Pardon my drawing. They are exactly the same nature, but it's just shifted. The output is just shifted by capital T. So you say this is a time invariant system. The time invariant system. But in case the output response when the input is shifted by capital T changes its nature. So in this case, the output response is completely different for this case. So this is obviously not time invariant. As you have changed the input occurrence, or the time of input occurrence, the response has entirely changed. So it's a time varying system, TV. Have you understood this? So for time invariant system, if you shift the input, the output will be just shifted without changing the nature. But if the output nature changes, then we call it a time varying system, right? So this is the basic difference between time invariant and time varying system. Now, before going on to the next classification, the thing that I want to discuss is that this definition or the classifications are not disjointed. How? Because you can have this is a set of continuous time system, Someone is trying to join the meeting, I guess. Okay. And say this one is a set of, obviously rest will be the set of discrete time system. There is no point drawing this circle over here. Let us first draw a set, complete set of systems. So if this just includes the continuous time systems, the rest will be discrete time system, and there will be only a subset of this discrete time system. There will be a hybrid system. That means it has continuous time part as well as discrete time part. So it's a hybrid system. So this is one definition. Next, what we have learned, there is linear system, non-linear system. A linear system, non-linear system can both be continuous time, it can be discrete time, or it can be hybrid. So it's a linear system. Again, a non-linear system can both be continuous time, discrete time, or hybrid. So it's a non-linear system. See, they are not entirely independent, right? What about then? Then we have learned about time invariant and time varying system. So a time invariant system can be both linear, continuous time, linear, hybrid, continuous time, or linear, discrete. Or it may be continuous time, non-linear, hybrid, things like that. So any classification, you cannot be very discrete. So you have to be, there will be overlapping. Suppose first classification is continuous time and discrete time. So under this continuous time system, you can have linear system or you can have non-linear system. This linear system can be time invariant or it can be time varying. Similarly, non-linear system can be time invariant or it can be time varying. So what are you getting? You are getting in continuous time domain. What are the systems that you are getting? You are getting linear time invariant and linear time varying, or non-linear time invariant or non-linear time varying. Understood? Similarly, for discrete time system, you get same thing. LTI or LTV. NLTI or NLTV. So this classification will not stop at being continuous, being linear, being non-linear. There will be obviously overlapping. Understood? And further, I will introduce more and more classifications, so that will be included in this branch. Have you got this point? And luckily, in our case, we will be only concentrating on continuous time, linear, time invariant system. Okay, so our systems will be linear, continuous time, and time invariant. Someone has put their mic to unmute. Devargo, mute your mic. Okay, thank you. So this classification, you should always keep in mind, is not disjointed. There will be sets which will be a subset of this classification. So any system cannot only be continuous time system. It has to be linear or non-linear. Again, it has to be time varying or time invariant, and so on. So if you proceed with this classification, the next thing that you'll get is a causal system and a non-causal system. Now, what's a causal system? As the name suggests, causal means it will depend. The system response to the performance will be defined by cause-effect relationship. That is, it is non-anticipative. You give an input, then only it will develop an output. Or in other words, the output at any instant will be function of the input at that instant and the input at past instance of time. But it can never depend on the input from a future instant of time. Because in real time, we cannot have this future input. So you can say all the real-time systems or physical systems must be causal, right? So this inference that you can draw, because you cannot have input from the future in reality, right? Other than those fictitious sci-fi movies, Back to the Future and things like that. Okay, so this is not a sci-fi. This is a real-time analysis of physical systems. So you cannot have a real-time system that will be non-causal. Okay, so what is a non-causal system then? A non-causal system is that a system where the output at any instant will be a function of input that you will have, that is supposed to occur at a future instant. It will depend on some future input. See, there's obviously a bit of confusion. In the real time, how you can get a future input? So in real time, we do not see any non-causal system. Right? There's also another type of system. Don't want to get you confused. There's anti-causal. That is a system that depends on future inputs only. Okay, but I do not want to get you confused with those things. So causal systems are all real-time systems are causal systems. Then the question is, how can you define a non-causal system if it doesn't exist? In actual scenario, there are some instances where a system either behaves in a non-causal manner or some non-causal operation is being performed. An example is given over here. That is in case of a image processing. Okay, in image processing, what do you do? Suppose you have a image. It's written over here. I think I would rather explain it. Suppose you are trying to analyze the image, and the image data is stored in this box here. Okay. So at any instant of time, say this is your horizontal axis x, this is the vertical axis y. So you have started from x equal to 0 and you're moving in this direction. And what you're doing actually, you're taking a horizontal frame like this and then moving this frame. In the way you're analyzing the location of the pixels in this y direction, right? Now, if suppose you are trying to extrapolate some data or interpolate some data, then say at this instant of time, say it is pixel number 5. So at 5th instant of pixel, we have the previous data like this. This is 3, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th data. But you want to know, well, with the 6th data, then you can extrapolate. Because this curve may go in this direction, may go in this direction. So to draw the curve from 4 to 5, you need to know the value of this pixel at 6th instant, right? So this 6th instant data, if we use, will be a future data. Agreed? Because you are now at instant 5 or pixel number 5, but this data is available. Since this image data is completely stored. So whenever doing some analysis on stored data, it may be image, it may be recording, it means some other meteorological data. Whenever you're doing this thing, so this is a future input that you are using at the present instant to generate this extrapolation or to predict the extrapolation. So this is one operation which is termed as non-causal operation. So understood? That's why the non-causal term should be there. It is there. Not that it is completely a hypothetical term. So there will be some instances where you will be doing some non-causal operation. So again, keep in mind, this causal and non-causal system will only be a subset of continuous time, linear time invariant system, continuous time, linear time varying system, continuous time, non-linear time invariant system. So you can say continuous time, linear time invariant causal system, right? So these things you should keep in mind. Next, the final and most important classification will be stable and unstable system. Because if a system is unstable, there is no need to define its properties. So what you have to do, you have to first make the system stable by designing suitable compensators or designing a controller. So this is the first and foremost duty of an engineer. So how do you define a system to be stable or unstable? A stable system is one for which the output doesn't diverge as long as input doesn't diverge. But in other words, if you give a bounded input, the output should also be bounded. So this is why it is called a bounded input, bounded output stability or BIBO stability. But in case of unstable system, what will happen? If you give a bounded input, the output will be growing unbounded. So that is an example of an unstable system. So by providing a bounded input, you can define or you can identify whether the system is stable or unstable. So how it can be expressed mathematically? Suppose when input is xt, the output of the system is yt. Now output condition must satisfy this condition. That is, mod of yt should be less than or equal to my, where my is some quantity that is less than infinity, is a finite quantity. When the system is excited by xt, where mod of xt is bounded by the limit mx, which is a finite quantity. Okay, so in this way, you can define the stability of a system. Right? If excited by bounded input, the output is also bounded, then we call the system to be bivostable. Okay, there's other forms of stability that we should not discuss right now because that will create confusion. Okay, in case this condition is not satisfied by a system, there is this condition, then we shall call the system to be an unstable system. Okay, now that we have understood the classification of systems, let us now investigate some of the properties of a system. The basic first property that we will investigate is the memory of a system. Okay, so what does that memory mean? While defining the causal system, I have mentioned that the output of a system at any time may be a function of input at that time or the past values of input, right? If a system output is a function of input at that particular instant only, then we say the system has no memory. It reacts to the exact value that is available there. Just like your combinational logic circuit, right? And when you call a system to have a memory, when it reacts not only to the present input, but also to the past input. So it has a memory. Very easy to understand this, right? See, for example, this system is memoryless because there's no relation with the past values. It's only instantaneous value. This discrete time system, say for continuous time system, we write the signals as yt. However, discrete time systems, we write that as yn. What does this n signify? Signifies the sampling instance, because the discrete time signals are defined only at this instance. N equal to 1, n equal to 2, so on, n equal to 0. So these are the array. Yn basically is array of data, discrete data. So obviously this is an memoryless system, but this is not memoryless, since it has a dependency on n minus 1th input, right? Similarly, this is again not memoryless. How you can say? See, yn is a function of xn and yn minus 1. So the previous value of output. Now, if you put this in proper mathematical way, it can be shown that this system is a dependent function of all the past inputs. How? Yn equal to xn plus yn minus 1. So what is yn minus 1? X of n minus 1 plus y of n minus 2. Right? Again, this y of n minus 2 can be replaced by x of n minus 2 plus y of n minus 3. So this limit will continue. So ultimately what you will get? You will get a sequence like this. So this, the output is a function of all the values of past values of input. Okay. Now this limit should not be infinity, it should be n up to that nth instant. Right? You cannot go beyond that. So minus infinity to n, minus infinity means all the past values from time eternity. Okay. Whenever you're talking about this, I don't think how your ideas are. Whenever you talk a limit as minus infinity or plus infinity, what do you mean? Say for discrete time system or for integration. In integration, we sometimes use time as a variable and use a limit 0 to infinity. So what does that mean? Can you give an example of a quantity that really justifies the definition of infinity? Yes. Both plus infinity and minus infinity. এই তোমরা দেখোনি মহাভারত দেখোনি ছোটবেলায়? তোমার বড়বেলা তো ভিডিওতে দেখোনি না মহাভারত?
দেখেছি স্যার।
টিভিতে দেখেছি।
হ্যাঁ, শুরু হতো কি দিয়ে? প্রথম ডায়লগটা কি থাকতো?
मैं समय हूँ।
রাইট। তাহলে আমি কি বলতে পারি না সময় হচ্ছে ইনফিনিটি একটা আদর্শ উদাহরণ, ফ্রম মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি টু প্লাস ইনফিনিটি। কেউ কি জানে সময় কোথায় কি শেষ হবে? আদৌ কি কোনদিন শেষ হবে সময়? কখন শুরু হয়েছে কেউ কি জানে? সো ওই জন্যই ইউ ক্যান ইউজ দ্য টার্ম ইনফিনিটি টু ইন্ডিকেট দ্যাট ইটস আ ইয়েস। সো না না, আমি এইসব নিয়ে বেশি রিসার্চ করবো না, দেবো স্যার এটা সিগন্যাল সিস্টেমস এর ক্লাস, ঠিক আছে, এখানে এইসব নিয়ে রিসার্চ বেশি না করাই ভালো। জাস্ট ইনফিনিটিতে বোঝার জন্য বলছিলাম। এনিওয়ে, তা সেই আমার কাছে এক্সাম্পল অফ ইনফিনিটি বলতে সময়, মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি টু প্লাস ইনফিনিটি, এভরিথিং it includes. Okay, our next definition will be invertible, whether a system is invertible or not. Now this invertible property is very important because if for a particular system a distinct input signals produce distinct output signals, then you call the system to be invertible. Now what does that mean? xt produces yt. So if you know yt, you can deterministically find out xt, because there is a one-to-one mapping between set of input signals and set of output signals. So invertible property of a system is very important in analyzing a system, especially when you are analyzing a system from a black box perspective. That is, you do not know what is inside, you're just giving an input and getting an output. If you know the system is invertible, then you can say for this particular input, that will be the output. So that property will help you in analyzing the system. A common example of a invertible system will be like this. The basic idea behind is that if you know the yt, you can determine xt. If you know xt, you can determine yt. So that is why the output and input conditions can be interchanged, right? Or if you know the output, you can get the input. If you know the input, you can get the output. There is a one-to-one correspondence. Okay. Similarly, for this discrete time system, it is also invertible because you can express xn in terms of yn. So if you know yn minus 1, you can find out the value of xn. So these are the examples of inverting system. So can you give an example of a system that is non-invertible, not invertible? Anyone? But there is no one-to-one correspondence between input and output. Just write an equation.
Square x square y equal to.
Right. Because say y equal to 1 will be generated by both x equal to plus 1 and x equal to minus 1. So when you get an output y equal to 1, you do not know whether it has been excited by 1 or minus 1. So there is no one-to-one correspondence. So this is the example of a non-invertible type of system, where the equation of the system is given by y equal to x square. Actually, that is there in your next example. That is the same we have considered here, right? Next, the causality property is a very important property. So you have to check whether a system is causal or not. Now, how you can check it? You just find out whether the output of the system is a dependent function of past input or future input. If it's a function of past or present input, then it's a causal. If it's a function of future input, then it's a non-causal system, right? So an example, yn xn minus 1, no doubt it's a causal system. It has a memory. Mind it has a memory. Yn equal to xn plus 1 is non-causal because the output at nth instant depends on the input at nth n plus 1th instant. So it's a non-causal system. It's the future sample. This integration minus infinity to 2e x tau d tau is a causal because it is the integration over period of time, but up to the time of interest t. Had that limit been t plus delta, then it could have been a non-causal system. But it's depending on input up to t only, and it's obviously a memory element. It has a memory. Interestingly, for this system, yn equal to x of minus n is a non-causal. Because for y1, 2, 3, 4, it's fine. But for y of minus 1, it will be x of 1. So this is a future. Agreed? So this is an example of a non-causal system. Agreed? Okay. And the common mistake that you normally make, that's why I put this example over here. If I ask you whether this system is causal or not, you'll just see, okay, there's a t plus 1, so it should be non-causal. Nearly absolutely wrong. First of all, it's a continuous time system, and this t plus 1 is nothing but an argument of this cos function. So cos t plus 1 will always be t plus 1 some value. It will give you some constant value with respect to xt. Okay, so it's a causal system. There is no way it depends on any future input. Understood? It only depends on xt and time instant t. So it's a causal but time varying system, right? Depending upon time instant t, the value of yt will change. So it's an example of causal time varying system. So these things you should always be keeping in mind. Whenever you're studying a system, a property of a system, you should look for all the properties. The final property, no, not final. Another important property is being whether the system is stable or not. So how can you judge whether the system is stable or not? Just by introducing a bounded input and see how the system output is bounded or not. Suppose we are giving an input xt, which is defined by this boundary. Now, if we get an output yt, which is also bounded, this less than infinity, then say the system is stable. Let's take an example. Suppose this is an example. You have to check whether it is stable or not. What you will do, we will consider xt to be something so that mod of xt is less than b. Right? So if it is less than b, you can write mod of yt as mod of this xt, which is identically less than equal to mod of this plus mod of this. Right? Now xt is always less than b. So x squared t into 2, although there is a minus 1, but still its entire range of xt is always less than b. So this 2x squared t minus 1 should always be less than 2b squared. Agreed? In the same argument, since x of t for all t is less than b of mod, so this should always be less than b. So the overall system will be less than 2b squared by b. Since b is finite, so this is also finite. So the system is a stable system. Okay? So this is an example of a stable system. Now let's consider next example. A discrete time system where the relation between input and output is given by this. We have to see whether the system is stable or not. So let the input signal to be un. Un means this is 1. A train of pulses, magnitude 1. This is a step signal. Let's take a step signal that you have heard or learned. So, since it's a unit step signal, the mod of xn should always be less than or equal to 1. Right? So now we also know the definition from the definition of step signal. The step signal value is only 1 from this k equal to 0 and onwards. For this k less than 0, this part is 0. So the limit for this summation will now change to k equal to 0 to n, right, with uk. Now this we know each of this uk is less than equal to 1. So this will be less than equal to k equal to 0 to n 1, the limiting value. Now what should be the limiting value? The limiting value is n plus 1. So this yn or mod of yn is less than n plus 1. Now you tell me whether that's a stable or unstable system, whether it is bounded or unbounded. Obviously it is unbounded, because as n increases the sampling instant, as we proceed with the sampling instant, the value of yn will, the boundary value of yn will keep on increasing. So as n tends to infinity, but after a large period of time, it will become very, very high. There is no bound to its upper limit. That's why it's an unbounded signal or an unstable signal, right? So the system will be an unstable system. Now the next criteria, time varying or time invariant. Now a system is time invariant if a time shift input signal results in the same time shift of the output signal. Sorry. Then we say the system is a time invariant system, and obviously the output signal should only be shifted in time, keeping its shape and properties intact. That is, if xt generates yt, then xt minus t0 will generate yt of t minus t0. So for example, this system, you have to check whether it is time invariant or not. Suppose you have a new input x1t that is defined by x of t minus t0, and let y1t be the corresponding output. Now, if we excite this system by x of t minus t0, what will be the output? Sine of x t minus t0, or sine x1t is t minus t0, and that is defined as y1t, that is the output of a system when excited by x1t. So your y1t is this. Now, for system to be time invariant, we have to show that this y1t, that is the output of x1t, is getting time shifted by the same amount, so that it's time invariant. So identically, this y1t should be equal to y of t minus t0. That is, it should keep the nature same and just get time shifted. So what is yt of minus t0? Same as sine x t minus t0. So you can say y1t is equal to y of t minus t0. So it's a linear time invariant system. Obviously, it not be linear. Sine is there. It's a time invariant system, right? Now, just check for yourself. If I modify the system equation by introducing just a t here, that is, by definition, yt is equal to t sine of xt. Now you check whether it's a time invariant or time varying system. Check for yourself. How can you check it? Say we define x1t as x of t minus t0. 1 second, I'm getting a call, huh? Just a second. So can you check this, whether it's a linear and time invariant or time varying system?
So time variant.
How?
Yes, sir. Time variant.
Time variant.
Because see, okay, fine. So corresponding to this, say the output is y1 t. So what will be y1 t? Y1 t will be equal to t.
T sine of xt minus t0.
Because the amplitude value will be changed.
Okay, but what about y of t minus t0? That is, if the it is only time shifted, the output is time shifted, it will be t minus t0 sine of x t minus t0. So clearly, your y1 t is not equal to so what kind of a system is a time varying system, right? I think I heard some of you say time variant. It's time varying. Okay, time invariant and time varying, right? The exact term would be. Okay, very good. So, in your exams or your papers, you will be asked to given a particular system equation. You will be asked to judge whether a system is linear or non-linear, causal or non-causal, time invariant or time varying, stable or unstable, it has memory or it has no memory. These things you have to check. And the properties I have already discussed, and I think you have all received the PDF for this class because I have shared it
Yes,
on the
sir.
classroom. And
Yes,
those who
sir.
have not received, please collect from your those who have received. Put it in a group mail. I don't know if it is being circulated to all of you, but I think Danish yesterday in the last day he created a group. I think all of you might get that. Okay, this example I'll keep it as a home task. It is explained over here. Okay, it is explained over here. So I'll let you to understand this, and in the next class, I'll ask randomly from any one of you to explain this to me. Okay, this explanation, right? Why it is called time varying system. Right? So the last part that is remaining is a linear or non-linear system. I think this is the most fundamental classification or most fundamental property, a system being linear or non-linear. So see, if an input x1 gives you an output y1 and x2 gives you output y2, then ax1 plus bx2 will give you an output ay1 plus by2. As simple as that. So for the first example, it's a linear one. How? Define an input ax1 plus bx2, where y1 is 2 pi x1 here, and y2 2 pi x2 here. Just replace x1 by x2. Now we define a input x as ay1, sorry, ax1 plus bx2. Now just from the right hand side, right, ay1 plus by2. You get this plus this. If you take 2 pi common, it will be ax1 plus bx2, and that is nothing but the input that you have considered here, right? So in a reverse way, we proved that the condition that the output due to the combination of these two will be an output generated by individual input multiplied by proper scaling. So it is a proper linear system. Okay, but that property will not be true if I consider some other sort of system. Say your system is y, equal to shouldn't I be getting 2x square? Say y equal to x square. Then what will happen? Define two inputs x1. So y1 will be x1 square, x2. So y2 will be x2 square, right? Now define ax1 plus bx2 as a new input, say x0, right? So what will be your y0? Right? But your ay1 plus by2, what will be that? Ax1 square plus, sorry, bx2 square. So y0 is not same as ay1 plus by2. Agreed?
Yes,
না, এখানে
sir.
একটা গন্ডগোল হয়ে গেছে। ax1 মানে x1 করলে যেটা হবে ax1 করলে স্কয়ার হয়ে যাবে, তাই তো? But still they are not same. So this is an example of a non-linear system because the superposition is or the scaling homogeneity are not being satisfied by this system, right? These are very trivial things. So given a system, we have to judge whether the system is first stable or unstable, then whether it's linear, non-linear, is time varying or time invariant, whether it's causal or non-causal, whether it is memory or not, right? So these are the basic fundamental tests that we have to take. Okay. The next, I will stop here, but in the next class, we shall consider another fundamental classification of systems. What are these? That I have not touched here. Dynamic. I should not say static. That is not a very good term. So I let her write non-dynamic. Okay. So obviously we'll be discussing about physical systems and their model. And model means mathematical model. Okay. So given a physical system, we have to first develop a model of the system, a model of the physical system. From that model of the physical systems, and this model will be developed by some idealized physical elements following the laws of physics or the physical laws, elemental physical laws. Then from these laws of the physics, we will develop a mathematical model. So that will be a representation of the physical systems. For that, the physical systems can be classified broadly in two categories: dynamic system and static or non-dynamic system. So any idea about this? When you call a system to be dynamic and when you call a system to be non-dynamic? কেউ বলতে পারবে? ছেলে জানো, আমরা বলি না ছেলেটা খুব ডাইনামিক ছেলে, but that student is very dynamic student. I sometimes say that student is very static. That person is very dynamic. Okay, বলো এবার।
Something related to a constant value of a function.
No,
That can be related to a non-dynamic system.
Sir, static, I think that the system is spatially
no,
in
not
one place.
no.
So dynamic is something which is subject means which constitutes of constant change activity. Like there is constant change and activity, and static there is no such change. Means it is
Philosophically it is correct. Philosophically it is correct. Okay, but in other sense, you can say in a dynamic system, whenever you give some input, it will react. Okay, it will react, but the non-dynamic system will also react. But from physical point of view, the thing is that why the definition or the difference is that once you give an input to a dynamic system, say it is at this state, as soon as given input, it will move on to a new state, from this state to this state. Now, for dynamic system and non-dynamic system, this transition takes place in two completely different manner. For one class of system, this transition will be instantaneous. But for other class of systems, this transition will be like this, through some changes. It will take some time, or it may be like this. But in some cases, it will be instantaneous. As soon as you change the input over here, you are changing the input or excitation over here. The state of the system changes from this to this instantaneously. But in some situations, it takes some times to change over. So I'll not mention which one is dynamic and which one is static or non-dynamic. Any idea which one will be a static system and which one will be a dynamic system in this case?
So instantaneous to dynamic.
Blue one will be the dynamic.
ব্লু ওয়ান তো
constant.
ইনস্ট্যান্টেনিয়াস আছে, আবার একটু ইয়ে করে যাচ্ছে, ডিলে হয়ে যাচ্ছে। আচ্ছা আমি একটুখানি তোকে তোমাকে বলার জন্য আমি তিনটে কালার দিয়ে আঁকছি, ব্ল্যাক করে দিচ্ছি, ব্লুটাকে ব্ল্যাক করে দিচ্ছি, ইনস্ট্যান্টেনিয়াস।
ব্ল্যাকটা তাহলে ডাইনামিক।
কেন বলছো ব্ল্যাকটাকে ডাইনামিক?
স্যার একটা যে কনস্ট্যান্ট চেঞ্জ মানে আই মিন
না এখানে বলে দিচ্ছি, তোমাদের যে টার্মটা শুনে এখানে একটু আমার মনে হয়েছিল কনফিউশনটা হবে, তাই জন্য আমি তোমাদের বললাম এই ডাইনামিক স্ট্যাটিক যে আমরা সিস্টেম গুলো পড়ি, ডাইনামিক বা নন ডাইনামিক, তার সাথে কিন্তু আমরা যে ফিলোসফিক্যালি ডাইনামিক যেটা বলি, ফিলোসফিক যে স্ট্যাটিক যেটা বলি, একটু ডিফারেন্ট।
স্যার সুইঙ্গিংটাই ডাইনামিক হবে বোধহয়।
হ্যাঁ বলছো কেন
মানে
বোধহয়
স্যার
বলছো, মানে ডাউট আছে না?
স্যার ওই যে গ্যালভানোমিটারে স্যার ওই যে ডাইনামিক বিহেভিয়ার একটা ছিল, মানে এরকম একটা সুইঙ্গিং।
আচ্ছা খুব সোজা, আমি একটা এক্সাম্পল দিলে ব্যাপারটা ক্লিয়ার হয়ে যাবে। ঠিক আছে, ধরো একটা এরকম সার্কিট আছে, ইলেকট্রিক্যাল সার্কিট, একটা ব্যাটারি সোর্স আছে, একটা সুইচ আছে, রেজিস্ট্যান্স আছে, তুমি কারেন্টটা মেজার করছো, ভি আর at t equal to say 0 তুমি সুইচটাকে ক্লোজ করে দিচ্ছ। সো সুইচটা ক্লোজ করার আগের মুহূর্তে অবধি কারেন্ট কত ছিল?
0
0। সো দিস ইজ t equal to 0, কারেন্ট 0। যেই মুহূর্তে তুমি সুইচটা ক্লোজ করলে, what will be the current?
V/R,
right? So what will be the potential across this resistance?
V.
Right? So this change will take place almost instantaneously, right? এবার দেখো একই রকম একটা এক্সাম্পল আমি দেবো, যেখানে আমার কাছে একটা ভোল্টেজ সোর্স আছে, একটা সুইচ আছে, একটা রেজিস্ট্যান্স আছে, ক্যাপাসিটর আছে। এবার ধরে আমি এর অ্যাক্রসে ভোল্টেজটা মেজার করার চেষ্টা করছি। জাস্ট ভোল্টেজটা পাবো। ফাইনাল ভোল্টেজটা কত হবে এখানে ক্যাপাসিটর অ্যাক্রসে?
V,
রাইট। আচ্ছা এই ভোল্টেজটাকে রিচ করবে কি করে?
exponentially
রাইট। তাহলে দুটোর মধ্যে ডিফারেন্সটা কি? এটা ইনস্ট্যান্টেনিয়াস চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে, এটা স্টেটটা চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে ফ্রম দিস টু দিস, বাট ইট ইজ গোয়িং থ্রু এ ফেজ। এই ফেজটাকে বলা হয় ট্রানজিয়েন্ট, আর এই ফেজটাকে বলা হয় যখন রিচ করে গেল, সরি
স্টেডি
স্টেট। সিস্টেমের যে এটাকে স্টেট বলে, এটা স্টেটে ছিল সেখান থেকে স্টেটে চলে গেল, তো দিস ইজ স্টেডি স্টেট। সো কারণ দেখো আলটিমেট ট্রানজিশন দিস ফ্রম 0 to v হচ্ছে, এখানেও 0 to v হচ্ছিল, রাইট? কিন্তু এখানে একটা exponentially হচ্ছে, মানে it's passing through a transient where the value is constantly changing, then it's reaching a particular value. So whenever a system output depicts this transient response, we call it system to be a dynamic system. If it changes instantaneously, it reacts quickly, almost instantaneously to change in input, we call it a non-dynamic system. মানে it doesn't show any dynamics, দেখো এখন ডাইনামিক্স নেই, সোজা চলে যাচ্ছে 0 থেকে v তে, whereas it has this transient. So you have to model this dynamics. এই যে ডাইনামিক্সটা এখন এক্সপোনেনশিয়াল, আবার এরকমও হতে পারে যদি আরএলসি সার্কিট হয়, তোমরা আরএলসি পড়েছো, ক্যালভানোমিটার যখন পড়েছো, রাইট? আরএলসি তে কি রকম হয়? একটা হলো ক্রিটিক্যালি ড্যাম্পড, একটা হলো ওভার ড্যাম্পড, একটা হলো আন্ডার ড্যাম্পড, পড়েছো তো এগুলো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
সেগুলো ডিফারেন্ট টাইপস অফ ট্রানজিয়েন্ট, ওকে, ডিপেন্ডিং আপন ইউর ড্যাম্পিং। সো ইউ হ্যাভ টু ডিফাইন or you have to model this dynamics. That's why we call a physical system to be dynamic, which shows this dynamics or the transient before settling down to the final value. Whereas for static or non-dynamic system, there is no such dynamics. So what is the tool that you'll be using for static system? It will be simple y equal to x, algebraic equation, right? But for dynamic system, it will be integral differential equation. There will be ddt and integration of dt. Understood? So in this way, we shall start from this point onwards. What is the dynamic system and how to model or how to obtain the mathematical model of the dynamic system, because most of the physical systems that you encounter are typically dynamic, okay, except for some situations where we find a system to be static, but most of the physical systems are dynamic. It will show some transient before settling down to a particular value, right? So we'll stop here now. Actually এইটুকুই থাক। নেক্সট দিন আমরা ডাইনামিক সিস্টেম কাকে বলে, তার ডেফিনিশন, তার ম্যাথমেটিক্যাল মডেলিং, কি করে মডেল করা যায়, ওটা ডিসকাস করব। ঠিক আছে? এনি ডাউট রিগার্ডিং টুডেস ক্লাস? দেবরাজ কি কথা বলতে পারছো না? তুমি এত এতে লিখছো, তোমার কি ভয়েসে কোনো প্রবলেম আছে? ও কিছু ইস্যু তুলছে চ্যাটে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
নো স্যার, নো স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, তাহলে বলো কি প্রশ্নটা বলো।
স্যার ওই আপনি ওখানে মানে হচ্ছে ওই সিস্টেমের যে সাবসেট দিয়ে যেগুলো যে দেখাচ্ছিলেন না, তো ওখানে তো ওখানে ওই যে লিনিয়ার সিস্টেম আর যে নন লিনিয়ারের জন্য যে আলাদা আলাদা যে ব্লু সার্কেলটা ইউজ করেছিলেন, তো লিনিয়ারটা বাদ দিয়ে যে বাকি সিস্টেমের পার্টটা ওটাই তো মানে
ঠিক ঠিক ঠিক,
নন লিনিয়ার।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ এক্স্যাক্টলি, ঠিক ঠিকই বলেছো। লিনিয়ারের বাইরে এই গ্রিন এটা যে এঁকেছি, এটা আঁকাটা ভুল হয়েছে। নন লিনিয়ার বলতে এই ব্লুর বাইরে যে কোনো অংশটাই নন লিনিয়ার, রাইট?
ইয়েস স্যার।
ঠিক আছে, আমি আসলে একটা ক্লাস্টার করতে চাইছিলাম। ঠিকই বলেছো, মানে সেটটা এইভাবে কিন্তু রিপ্রেজেন্ট করতে পারবে না। ইটস লাইক সেট এন্ড কমপ্লিমেন্টারি সেট। ঠিক আছে, ফলে একটা ভেন ডায়াগ্রামে অতগুলো ক্লাসিফিকেশন দেখানো খুব মুশকিল, তাই না? তুমি যদি নন লিনিয়ারটা ভুলে যাও, তাহলে লিনিয়ারটা ভাবো, তাহলে কিন্তু হয়ে যাবে। ধরো আমি ঠিক আছে, যখন ডাউটটা করলো বলে দিচ্ছি তোমাকে, তাহলে একটা যে কোনো ক্লাসিফিকেশনই করতে হবে। মানে এটা হচ্ছে তাহলে আমার লিনিয়ার সিস্টেম, বেরিয়ে গেল, সরি। এটা হচ্ছে টাইম ইনভ্যারিয়েন্ট সিস্টেম। তাহলে বাকি পোর্শনটা টাইম ভ্যারিং হয়ে গেল, এর বাকিটা হয়ে গেল তোমার নন লিনিয়ার, তাই তো? আর ধরো আচ্ছা, এখানে গন্ডগোল হয়ে গেল। থার্ডটা করতে গেলে খুব মুশকিল। থার্ডটা করতে গেলে সবাইকে এনকম্পাস করে করতে হবে।
ইয়েস স্যার, মানে এখানে যে নন লিনিয়ারটা যে দেখাতে গেলে একটু চাপ, মানে ওটা আবার যে
এবার
টাইম
এখানে
ইনভেরিয়েন্ট।
থার্ডটা তাহলে এটা তোমার হয়ে গেল, ধরো কি বলবো, লিনিয়ার টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট, ধরো কজাল সিস্টেম। কজাল তো নন লিনিয়ার কজাল হতে পারে, টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট কজাল হতে পারে, সব কিছু।
কিন্তু কমপ্লিমেন্টারি গুলো সব তো মিলে মিশে যাচ্ছে, কারণ লিনিয়ার নন লিনিয়ার ভেরিয়েন্ট ওগুলো তো।
হ্যাঁ, কমপ্লিমেন্ট দেখো, এখানে দেখো কমপ্লিমেন্টারি আছে তো। কজালের মধ্যে নন লিনিয়ারও আছে, আবার লিনিয়ারও আছে।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, কিন্তু ওই যে আউটার স্পেস যেটা, ওইটা যে মানে ওইটা তো দুটোকে সিগনিফাই করছে, নন লিনিয়ারটাকেও সিগনিফাই করছে, টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্টটাকেও সিগনিফাই করছে। দুটো তো মানে একই ভাবে হয়ে যাচ্ছে না।
কোথায় হচ্ছে? এই দেখো, এই গ্রিনটার বাইরে যেটা, এই অংশটা হচ্ছে নন লিনিয়ার সিস্টেম। তাহলে এইটুকু
টাইম ভেরিয়েন্ট সিস্টেম
নন লিনিয়ার প্লাস না, টাইম ভেরি না, নন লিনিয়ার মধ্যে এইটুকু হচ্ছে নন লিনিয়ার টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট, রেস্ট ইজ নন লিনিয়ার টাইম ভেরিয়েন্ট।
ওকে স্যার, ইয়েস স্যার, ইয়েস স্যার।
বুঝতে পারলে? সিমিলারলি এই লিনিয়ার সিস্টেমের মধ্যে এইটুকু হচ্ছে লিনিয়ার কজাল, রেস্ট লিনিয়ার সিস্টেমটা এইটুকু আছে, এটা লিনিয়ার নন কজাল, এই পোর্শনটা। তুমি একটা একটা করে ধরো, তাহলে এই পোর্শনটাতে কি আছে? এটা টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট লিনিয়ার কজাল, এই পোর্শনটা, তাই তো? দেখো, এটা লিনিয়ার, লাল আছে মানে টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট, ব্লুটার মধ্যে পড়ছে বলে কজাল। তাহলে এইটা হচ্ছে আমার পয়েন্ট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট, ইন্টারসেকশন অফ অল দিস সেটস। লিনিয়ার, যেটা আমরা বললাম, যেটা আমরা ডিসকাস করবো, লিনিয়ার টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট এন্ড কজাল সিস্টেম। বুঝা গেল? এখানে একটু গ্যাপ হবে, এই জায়গাটা থাকবে না, আমি একটু অন্য কালার দিয়ে কালার করে দিই। এইটুকু অংশ, তাই তো?
ইয়েস স্যার, ইয়েস স্যার।
লিনিয়ার, টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট এন্ড কজাল। তাহলে আমাদের পুরো জিনিসটা কনসেন্ট্রেশনটা এইটুকুর মধ্যেই থাকবে, বোঝা গেল? ঠিক আছে, এই জিনিসটা জাস্ট একটু খুব ব্যাপার, মানে ট্রিভিয়াল ব্যাপার, কিন্তু মাথায় রাখবো। আমি এটাই বলার যে লিনিয়ার মানে সেটা টাইম ইনভেরিয়েন্ট হতে পারে, টাইম ভ্যারিং হতে পারে, এটা কিন্তু ডিসজয়েন্টেড ক্লাসিফিকেশন না, ওভারল্যাপিং ক্লাসিফিকেশন, ঠিক আছে? সেটাই বলার চেষ্টা করছি। ওকে, ভেরি গুড ইস্যু, ভেরি গুড পয়েন্ট। আর কোনো ডাউট কারো?
স্যার বলছি যে আপনি তো যেটা বললেন ওই যেটা ডাইনামিক যে সিস্টেম গুলো হয় সেগুলোতে স্টেডি স্টেট ভ্যালুর আগে একটা ট্রানজিয়েন্ট ফেজ ওটা
Right.
পেরিয়ে যায়,
হ্যাঁ,
তাহলে মানে যে কোনো ডিজিটাল সার্কিটে মানে যেরকম যদি ফিল্টার ধরি, ফিল্টারে তো আমাদের মানে আমরা আইডিয়ালি ধরে নিচ্ছি যে যে চেঞ্জটা হচ্ছে সেটা একদম সে ব্রিক ওয়াল চেঞ্জ হয়, মানে পুরো জিরো থেকে মানে 1 থেকে পুরো 0 হয়ে যাবে বা এরকম চেঞ্জ হয়, কিন্তু আমরা অ্যাকচুয়ালি পাচ্ছি সেটা ডাইনামিক, মানে ওই আর কি চেঞ্জটা গ্র্যাজুয়ালি চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে। তার মানে অ্যাকচুয়ালি কি এরকম মানে ওই স্ট্যাটিক চেঞ্জ বা স্ট্যাটিক সিস্টেম পাওয়া সম্ভব যেটা এরকম মানে ইনস্ট্যান্টলি চেঞ্জ আমাকে দিচ্ছে?
তুমি ইনফ্যাক্ট যদি কম্বিনেশন লজিক সার্কিটে ধরো, খুব সহজ এক্সাম্পল, কম্বিনেশন লজিক সার্কিটে তো ইনস্ট্যান্টেনিয়াস আসে না, একটা তোমার ওই প্রপাগেশন ডিলে থাকে, এবং তুমি এটা মেজার করতে হচ্ছে গ্লিচও পাবে। ফলে দেখো একদম প্র্যাকটিক্যালি স্ট্যাটিক সিস্টেম পাওয়া যেমন কঠিন, ঠিক আছে, স্ট্যাটিক সিস্টেম প্র্যাকটিক্যালি পাওয়া কঠিন, কারণ তুমি একটা সিম্পল রেজিস্টিভ সার্কিটও পাবে না, ওর মধ্যে স্ট্রে ক্যাপাসিট্যান্স থাকবে, স্ট্রে ইন্ডাক্টেন্স থাকবে। তুমি যদি খুব জুম ইন করো দেখবে ন্যানো সেকেন্ড, পিকো সেকেন্ড ট্রানজিয়েন্ট থাকবে, ঠিক আছে? থিওরিটিক্যালি এই একাডেমিক, এই ডিভিশনটা পুরোপুরি একাডেমিক বলতে পারো, ঠিক আছে? কারণ যে কোনো ডিজাইনের মধ্যে তুমি পিওরলি রেজিস্টিভ এলিমেন্ট দিয়ে কিছু ডিজাইন করতে পারবে না, তুমি রেজিস্ট্যান্সের দিক থেকে ভাবে। আবার এখন তুমি যদি সুপার কন্ডাক্টর ইউজ করো, দ্যাট ইজ সামথিং এলস, সেক্ষেত্রে হতেই পারে পুরো স্ট্যাটিক সিস্টেম, যে মুহূর্তে ইনপুট দেবে সঙ্গে সঙ্গে আউটপুটটা পেয়ে যাচ্ছে, তখন ট্রানজিয়েন্ট শো করছে না, দ্যাট ইজ ওকে। বাট আমরা তো অবভিয়াসলি চাইবো একটা স্ট্যাটিক সিস্টেম, মানে কমান্ড দিলে, মানে ইনপুট দিলে সঙ্গে সঙ্গে কমান্ডটা ফলো করবে, তাই না? ট্রানজিয়েন্টটা যত কম হয় ততই তোমাদের পক্ষে সুইটেবল ইন সাম সিচুয়েশনস, অবভিয়াসলি। তুমি বলতে চাইলে ফিল্টার আউটপুট একটা আসছে, ইনস্ট্যান্টেনিয়াস আসছে না, কিন্তু প্র্যাকটিক্যাল ক্ষেত্রে ইট ইজ ভেরি ডিফিকাল্ট টু অ্যাচিভ কমপ্লিট স্ট্যাটিক রেসপন্স, যেখানে কোনো ট্রানজিয়েন্টই থাকবে না। সো এভরি সিস্টেম ইজ বেসিক্যালি ডাইনামিক সিস্টেম, ওকে, একটা ট্রানজিয়েন্ট থাকেই। এবার কিছু কিছু ক্ষেত্রে আমরা সেগুলোকে দেখতে পাই, কিছু ক্ষেত্রে দেখতে পাই না, এইটুকুই ডিফারেন্স, কিন্তু ডাইনামিক সব সিস্টেমই থাকে, ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
ওকে, আর কোনো কোয়েশ্চেন? ঠিক আছে, তাহলে থ্যাংক ইউ ফর ইউর patient hearing, and we shall meet in the next class. Okay.